Welcome to the Her Story Circle podcast, the podcast that brings you the extraordinary tales of everyday women who are changing the world. I'm your host, Gertrude Mache, and I'd like to acknowledge traditional custodians of the land on which we meet today. I also like to pay my respects to elders, past, present, and emerging. Every week, we dive into the lives, challenges, and triumphs of women from all four corners of the globe. We're here to inspire, enlighten, and connect, sharing stories that uplift and empower. So grab a cup of coffee, settle in, and join us as we explore the incredible journeys of women shaping our future. This is Her Story, where every woman's voice matters. Hello, everybody, and welcome back to the Her Story Circle. This is Gertrude Mache here in beautiful Melbourne, Australia. And today I am graced with the presence of yet another fascinating young woman. Welcome, welcome, welcome to our tribe. Please tell everybody your full name, where you're based, and share your story with us today.
Hi, my name is Jaydi Kuba. I am a matchmaker and dating coach and writer based in Los Angeles, California, in the United States, and I'm really happy to be here today. In terms of my background and who I am, I grew up in South Florida. I was very enamored from afar with the film and TV world out in Los Angeles. I majored in screenwriting in school, just fell in love with that and set out to become a TV writer. And much like the amazing host of this show, I became really fascinated with just telling people stories. And over time, that just naturally was a great segue into the world of matchmaking. I love finding out what makes people tick and how they got to be who they are and what they're looking for out of life and in a partnership. And I started this matchmaking company, LJ Matchmaking, with my now business partner, Lauren Rosenberg, in 2014. Have been matching people prior to that as well. And I'm sure we'll get into more details, but it's been the joy of my life outside of my family. And I've just helped so many people find love and meaning and engagements, marriages, babies, and it's just the joy that I was getting out of writing TV, which I still do. I have to admit, does not compare to just even two people going out on a first date and hitting it off. So when I realized that I was a little bit more passionate about that and not just telling stories, but helping to create stories, that's when I started making a real shift mentally and how I chose to spend my time. And now I have the pleasure of writing about those stories. And I have a book coming out that just became available for pre-order, and I'm sure we'll get into that too. But it's I'm so excited that I get to marry my passions of writing and helping people find love, and I'm excited to be able to share my story more with the world.
Thank you so much for sharing your story with us today, Jaydi. It's fascinating when I meet people who have these really unusual career paths. So what was the real turning point where you pivoted from TV writing to matchmaking? Was this based on your own personal experience? Was it somebody you had helped? How did it all start?
That's a great question. I had been doing it kind of in a more amateur way on the side, just helping connecting friends in college. I was always the wing person. If a friend was interested in a guy across the room, I'd be the one to go up to him. And that was just a natural instinct of mine and a gift that I had to help people connect. But it wasn't until I was an assistant on a major TV animated comedy where I just noticed that, especially in the world of film and TV, so many people were prioritizing their careers at the expense of their personal lives. And this is not just in that industry, it's pretty universal. And I just wanted to be a connector of people. And I just saw so many incredible people who just didn't have the bandwidth to make that a priority. And so I was doing that on the side for a while and launched my business officially in 2014 after having some success setting people up just through word of mouth. But of course, it gets really incestuous very quickly if you're only setting up people you know. That's a lot of drama that I just did not want to deal with. And so by expanding and spreading the word that I had a company, I was able to broaden the database, like the Rolodex, so to speak, of the singles I was matching. And just, I had so much success through that the business really grew from there. And my reputation as a matchmaker grew from there. But to answer your question, if there was a moment when I made that shift to prioritize that over my TV career, I was on a podcast with my business partner, Lauren Rosenberg. What was it called? It was, I really want to give them the credit. It was the co-host Steve Rossiter and someone else it was First Rounds on Me, which is from, it's a great dating app that you should totally check out. And we were on their podcast and they had asked us, I don't know how appropriate this is for the audience, but we were playing a game called, like F, Marry, Kill. Have you heard of that?
Yes.
Okay, so they asked us, like F, Marry, Kill, the entertainment industry, because my business partner also comes from the world of entertainment, the dating industry, or Jason Momoa, because he was, it was like something that his name had come up. I think my business partner said he was her hall pass. And so he was just bringing that kind of around full circle and said, Jason Momoa, the entertainment industry or the matchmaking industry, what would you choose? And without even batting an eyelash, I said, I want to marry the dating industry. I would, flirt with, I'd have fun with, hook up with the entertainment industry. And sorry, Jason Momoa, but you're a goner. And so it was in that moment, everything just clicked for me. Like, wait, I've been dedicating my whole life to pursuing my writing career in the world of entertainment, but I just said that's not what I want to marry. So why am I putting all of my energy toward this career, which I was really doing well, but I wasn't getting the same joy out of it. And so after that podcast, I kind of made the mental shift, and then that started leading over into actually changing my day-to-day routine to make it like a full attitude and life perspective shift.
That's fascinating. So how do the skills of a screenwriter translate into the world of matchmaking?
Yeah, absolutely. So I think it really just comes down to the same reason that you host this, right? Is just wanting to know what makes someone them uniquely themselves, and to get inside their minds and to craft a good story, to write a great character. You don't want to just say like, oh, she has brown hair and she's this tall and, she's doing this in the present. You really have to, even if it's not on the page, for it to the person's story to come across authentically, you want to get into their backstory, right? Which is how you started this whole conversation, which I love so much, is who is this person? What makes them them? Why are they passionate about what they do? And where do they come from? And so even if the first time you're meeting that character on screen, they're just telling a joke, that joke's going to land harder if it's coming from an authentic place. And so I started off with a love of character, and that easily translated into just my love for people. And so I actually think it's all very, very related. And one has constantly, because I still write, one has constantly informed the other. And the stories that from the real people that I'm working with sometimes informs my writing. Sometimes I explore something in writing that ends up informing the date coaching that I do and the way that I match people. So I think a lot of people are surprised at first blush, but then they hear more about it. And, oh, okay, that makes a lot of sense.
That's so interesting. So, what makes Love Agent of Hollywood different from other matchmaking services?
You're full of amazing questions, and I'm very excited to answer this one. So, I don't know how many of you have seen the movie Materialist that just came out, but that is sort of the epitome of when people think of traditional matchmaking from one of the larger companies that has a ton of people working under them, like a presence in every state, every country, and they have scaled the art of matchmaking, which arguably I don't think is something to be scaled. I think matchmaking in its purest form is one, maybe two people meeting with every single person, finding out everything there is to know about what I was saying before about what makes them them, why it is they're looking for what they're looking for. And when you scale that and you have one matchmaker meeting with Mary and another matchmaker meeting with Timothy, maybe they're able to compare notes on paper and match those people, and maybe it's successful just by the sheer volume that they operate under. But my business, first and foremost, has a more boutique curated feel to it because it is just me and my business partner. We are like the old Yenta women in the shtetl back in the day, how matchmaking was kind of intended. And so we're meeting every single person. Our business model is very different than the companies you would traditionally find out there. So a lot of the matchmaking companies, and this is no knock on them. I think that they have some other companies have very successful business models and they find success for their clients. For me, what's the way that I have found I can sleep the best at night and I can stand by and feel like I have the most success putting my clients first is my service is referral only. Not for coaching. Coaching, I love helping anybody who needs it. For matchmaking, it's referral only. I just want to know that the people I'm matching, there's some degree of accountability. So I'm not just handing out business cards at a Whole Foods or Starbucks. I'm actually, there's less likelihood that someone's going to ghost or there's no catfishing. Like the person's going to present how they really are because maybe they might embarrass the person who referred them otherwise. So I tend to work with very high quality people. Additionally, in terms of my rates, I'm a strong believer that matchmaking should not just be a luxury service. So most matchmakers, their starting rates around $5,000. They guarantee a certain number of matches. I know matchmakers who charge $150,000, $500,000. But the starting rates are in the thousands. And I just think love should be affordable to everyone. And if I really believe that matchmaking is the best way to connect people in the modern era, I think it's important to make that accessible to everyone. And so my rates are a lot more affordable, closer to maybe investing in a year of online dating. And so because I operate more in volume instead of taking on 8 clients at a time and I take on 100 at a time, it gives me a bigger database of quality people to match, and I don't have to outsource that. So there's so much more to what makes the business unique. I don't know how much time you have, but these are maybe some of the major differences. And I think for the straight people that I match, because I do work with the LGBTQ plus community as well, but with the straight couples that I'm matching, we have a tier that is complimentary for the men, which it sounds in some ways anti-feminist, and I actually think it's the complete opposite. So we started off by charging everybody naturally, right? Why should men or women pay more or less than the other? I quickly found that the men that were getting referred to me were not the men that the women I was working with wanted to meet. It was, and there were outliers, but maybe some socially awkward men, people that couldn't meet women on their own. And the women I worked with wanted like the handsome, successful, charismatic men. And those men didn't think they needed to pay for help in the dating world. So, I started not charging them and just insisting that they do what maybe they were already doing, which is treating on their dates. So I have the men invest in the women invest in the service. And so I'm not profiting from both sides. I work I equally try to match both because that doesn't help anyone. It's mutually beneficial. And then the last piece, and I promise you, then I'll kick it on over to you. The last piece that makes my business a little bit more unique is that we don't guarantee a minimum number of matches. So what you find, like in the movie The Materialist, or where these companies get into trouble, is you pay thousands of dollars for this luxury service. No one's going to pay $10,000 if you don't know what you're getting out of it, and you can't guarantee love. So if you can't guarantee love, what can you guarantee? Well, you can guarantee you're going to meet 10 quality people for this price, right? And so they guarantee a minimum. And what happens is maybe 4 out of the 10 come from the internal database. And then that client doesn't connect with those 4 people. Well, then what do? Right? They promised 10. So then they're racking their brains. They're contacting other matchmakers in the community. They're going on LinkedIn and Instagram and TikTok and trying to find attractive people so that their client feels like they're getting their money's worth. But what do they really know about those people? And so there are matchmakers, like I said, who do operate under those models, and they're very skilled at what they do, and they do that properly. But if you're not one of those skilled people, and it's hard to tell sometimes as a prospective client, and I love helping to arm people like with what those differences are and what to look for, but you can run into a lot of problems with that model. And so I would say that's the other point that separates them.
That's amazing. Now, why did you decide to write your book, Your Last First Date? What was the motivation behind it, and what can people expect?
Yeah, so some of it I want to leave for closer to publication date, just because it's so far in advance of the book. It comes out January 27th, and I'd be thrilled if anyone pre-orders now, but just know you won't be able to have it in your hands until then. But the inspiration for Your Last First Date, it was so many. So the main purpose of writing it is I've been frustrated. Every day I'm meeting with clients and I'm helping them find love. And I'm constantly feeling like it's not enough. I'm feeling like I can only help, like, let's say there's time for me to meet with 6 clients in one day. Well, I want to help 600 on a Monday, not 6,000. So I wanted to really broaden my reach. I really believe in my coaching philosophy in particular, because matchmaking, you maybe know somebody's husband or wife. If I do, I will help you find that person. But if I don't, I still want to help you. And so I can help you best by doing date coaching with you. And so I want to be in everyone's corner, helping them find love, and having a book felt like a good platform to be able to do that. And then just from a logistics standpoint and a bandwidth standpoint, the inspiration for this came about during the writer's strike that was happening. And I had a little more time on my hands, and I finally had the ability to pour my everything into this book. And I didn't even mention it in my intro, but I have several passions in life beyond matchmaking. One is my 3-year-old girl, and the other is my husband. And so I had the bandwidth during the strike to be able to pull enough of my focus away from my professional and personal lives to just take some time off to write this book. And I really couldn't be happier.
Awesome. So what lessons about love have you learned through working with your clients?
Oh gosh, lessons about love. I feel like I've learned as much about love in my own dating life and marriage than I have with my client, as I have with my clients. But so love specifically and not dating, right? So I would say with love, so after the introduction stage, and 2 people are making a relationship work together, because of course I don't just want to make an intro and then never hear from someone again. I want to know, like, how are their lives going, and I try to make an effort to stay in touch with my success stories. And just so through them and through my own marriage, I would say with love, just learning, I think a lot of people shy away from conflict, and conflict helps us grow. I think that's a big life lesson and a good takeaway. I meet with so many clients, whether it's in the early stages of dating and in a relationship, or even ones that get married, that will brag, like, oh, everything's so great. It's so peaceful. We never bicker. And I worry about those relationships because there's no world where everyone is on the exact same page about everything. And there's a difference between, right, having a disagreement and expressing yourself versus having like an all out brawl, which I do not recommend. But I think before you get, it looks like you froze. Can you hear me? I'll keep chatting just in case other people can hear me, but you look frozen on my screen. Yeah, for me, it's just really important that, what I've noticed is people grow through conflict. And so I tend to advise people to make sure that you're not shying away from that. So I would say that's the biggest takeaway. A lot more where that came from, but that's something that I think is worth imparting. Can you hear me? I'll just keep chatting till I hear from you. So other lessons, I mean, in terms of in the early stages of dating, in addition to relationships, I think that a lot of people are very marriage oriented, and they're really concerned with getting to the altar, being married, keeping up with their friends, and not necessarily finding someone who's truly a compatible life partner. And so I think something that's a really important takeaway is making sure that you don't rush love. Love moves at its own pace. And so I think that that's really invaluable, to make sure that you're not just marriage oriented and you're taking the time to meet the right person. I don't know if I cut out for a little bit or if you cut out. So I'm just sort of running.
It looked like I cut out, but you kept going. So that's the good thing. I'm glad.
Yeah.
No, that's awesome. So now that you have created this amazing opportunity to connect people, I'm in the dating world right now and finding it extremely challenging, especially as a woman over 50, to find the right person. I'm a little bit fussy. What tips and advice would you give to somebody who's very specific?
Well, I'm excited.
What they're looking for.
Yeah, let's dig in. So first I want to question, circle back to you calling yourself fussy. So for me, someone who's fussy falls into two categories: either unrealistic, like, I don't want to say delusional. It's somebody who's basically asking for things that they don't bring to the table themselves.
Right.
Or maybe somebody who, I don't know, like is just looking in the wrong places. I think that when you're selective, that's a good thing. Being picky, to me, being fussy, right? That's smart. You want to be fussy about who you're going to spend the rest of your life with. But if you are bringing qualities to the table that you're asking for in a partnership, it's just smart to me. It's not fuss. I don't consider that fussy. Fussy is, I had a fling with someone when I was traveling, and he was the best looking person that I ever met, or she was the best looking person that I ever met. And now I will not go on a date with anyone who's just as traditionally attractive. Okay. Now, maybe that's fussy because you were never in a relationship with that person. Maybe you made out with them, you had a fun night. That to me is fussy. But yeah, so I'm curious to you, what does fussy mean to you? What makes you fussy?
Fussy means to me, I have a certain checklist of, I'm not so worried about the person's physical attributes. It's more the character, the common interests, mutual respect, mental stimulation, and just old-fashioned values is really important to me.
Yeah.
But what I am finding is maybe it's because I never dated as a young woman. I got married very early, was married for 27 years, a 31-year relationship. So I've never been out there. And it's a very scary place.
It is. So if you were my coaching client, the two biggest parts that I would start with in terms of tackling, it sounds like just experience wise, there's not a lot of experience dating. So I would want to kind of do some just starting with the basics, right? And getting a feel for, is your issue not getting the dates, or you're getting the dates and they're not leading to second dates? So we would unpack that conversation and figure out the strategy there. In terms of what you said you're asking for, the only part of it that I would challenge or ask you maybe to consider is the common interest part. Because I think that having mutual respect, wanting to connect with someone intellectually, all these are wonderful things. I think that unlike values, interests can be acquired. So values are a bit more, it shapes your life perspective. You want to maybe have the same religious background or political views because it informs how you see the world. And you want to see the world similarly with your partner. Otherwise, the type of conflict that I was speaking about, it's not going to help you grow. It's going to end your relationship. So I think that's all great. But let's say you love to play tennis and he, I don't know, is into video games. It's maybe you're not into those same things, but you can expose each other to new worlds. And so, I don't know, video games was the best example, but, the two of you once a week could play, an hour together. It might make him feel more connected to you. You could, sign him up for some tennis lessons, do some doubles games. But the point is you want to expose each other to new worlds too. And those can be learned. Like my husband was really into jam bands and like going to see Fish and the Grateful Dead. Not my thing at all before I met him. Like the New York Mets, not my thing before I met him. I love tasting menus at restaurants. Wasn't his thing before he met me. Right. Now I'll go to some games or concerts with him and I have so much fun doing it. And he comes to, tasting menus with me once in a while and it's amazing. And now he loves it too. But the important thing is we connected where it matters. We connected emotionally, physically, intellectually. We saw the world the same way. On the surface, if someone said, oh, like Jaydi Samuels and David Kuba, you should meet, some people might have said, that's crazy. Like she's so straight edge and he's got this wild past and he's sort of like this hippie guy that has some tattoos and she doesn't even drink. Like people would not understand on the surface because just our hobbies and interests were a little bit different. But the way we wanted to raise our daughter and the things we wanted to accomplish in life, like all of that was very similar and aligned. And so, I'm really diving into the hobbies and interests thing, but I think generally speaking, what you're asking for, I think is really wise and you should hold it out for somebody who meets that criteria. That being said, leave room for people who might surprise you. There might be people that you meet at a party or doing online dating that don't look like maybe they check off all those boxes.
Yes. I think I'm going in with my little checklist a little bit too much.
Checklists are good, right? It's just you don't want to be too granular. And it doesn't sound like you are. If you're like, they have to be over 6 feet, they have to have brown hair, but I think what you're asking for is pretty reasonable and you possess those things. So I think if you want them, you're entitled. Now, the important part to note is sometimes there's a trade-off, right? Maybe someone's not sharing, maybe someone's not as book smart as you are, but maybe their level of empathy is greater than your ability to empathize. And so you fell in love with their heart and it's okay that maybe you're a little bit more bookish. So sometimes there's I think you should leave room for the possibility that there could be a balance there.
That's interesting. Very interesting. So how do you balance intuition and strategy in helping people find the right match?
Balance it with what else? You're saying balance intuition and strategy with what? Or you're saying balance intuition and strategy?
Yeah, because one, you want to go in with that gut feel that you have, whether they're going to be a good fit or not. And then on the other side, you've got a strategy of, how
I
you are
see.
helping people find
For
their.
me, my intuition really informs my strategy. So I was like, wait, are they opposites? But I understand the question. So essentially, how do I balance my head with my gut feeling?
Correct.
Right? So there's software that we use for the more analytical side, the analytics side of things. Because I know thousands of single people, it will help me kind of sort in a way that maybe a computer does with algorithms. But I've created my own. My partner and I have tweaked our algorithm to factor in some things. You had mentioned before this video launched about birth order, for example.
Yes.
We factor that in at our company when we match people. And so we'll add in parts like that to the algorithm. But there's the analytical side, like, oh, this person said that they don't want to date anyone with a cat because they're allergic, right? And then maybe I have a gut feeling that they'd really hit it off and it would be such a shame for them not to meet when he could just take a Claritin, to get over that. So we weight it to some degree. I think it has to do with how strongly we feel like our gut is overriding the parts on paper. It would have to really outweigh the parts on paper to make a match like that early in somebody's membership. At the beginning, our goal is to build trust with somebody. So the more you can give someone what they're asking for at the beginning, the more confidence they're going to have in the process. And then once we earn the trust, if we haven't yet found their match, then we shift a little more into like, all right, but we're really, really loving this person for you. Keep an open mind. We've had good luck so far. You've liked the quality of people. It's not quite working. Let's consider someone who's a little like you weren't open to someone who has a kid, but you got to meet him. Like he's just too perfect for you, and part of what's wonderful about matchmaking versus online dating is we get to work in the gray area. We're not a computer. You can't just categorically rule someone out without us having a conversation about it first with you.
That's interesting. So living and working in Hollywood would be challenging. How do you foster authenticity in a world that often values appearances?
It's why I started the company. I found that no one out here really knew where to go. I think Hollywood has the appearance of like, we're all superficial out here and we only care about looks and success and all of this. And that's true, I think, when it comes to someone's profession.
Right.
And I'm not going to lie, there's going to be the 60-year-olds wanting to date the 30-year-olds. Like, that exists, probably more so out here than in other parts of the world.
Right.
But within that, the majority of people are grounded, quality, looking for a serious connection. And there's no hub for that out here. And I wanted to be that hub for them. And so now they have a place to go if they're seeking that out.
I absolutely love it. Wow. So you have really started something intriguing. And what does success look like to you as a matchmaker? That's my last question for you.
Yeah. So what does success look like? So meaning for me personally or for my clients?
Well, for you working with your clients, what does success look like for you?
Sorry, I accidentally tabbed off of this. So success for me is what I'm now starting to achieve at the almost age of 40. I turn 40 later this year. Success for me is marrying my passions, being madly in love with my husband and my 3-year-old girl, getting to write about what I'm passionate about. What does success mean? And I hope, by the way, this is something that I can continue because this is what brings me joy, and I'm excited that I have finally been able to marry all three of those: self-care, my personal life and my professional life. Took me a while to get there. I feel like I found that balance, and I just want to keep it going for as long as possible. What does success mean for my clients? And it's such a great question, because success, typically when you ask a matchmaker, what's your success rate? It's a really common question. It's actually the first question most matchmakers get. I'm really transparent about what that means for me and for people I work with. So a lot of people will fudge numbers. There isn't really an organization that will keep you honest when it comes to success rates. Some companies will say they have a 90% success rate, and what that means is how many first dates have turned into second dates. It's not really about marriage or babies or any of that. I would say for me, it's more about the number of success stories, which to me is people that have gotten married or had kids or really long-term relationships that could turn into something permanent. That's success, maybe in the way that it's traditionally defined. As a coach, and this is why I got into date coaching, success to me means when I have a conversation with somebody, they're better off than where I found them. So even if it's a 30-minute session or a 1-hour session, if someone can feel more empowered about their dating life after connecting with me, if they have actionable tools, tips, and tricks to go meet someone on their own, or feel better about an insecurity, or give themselves more grace, because it's hard out there. I feel like I've done my job, and that was a successful conversation. And so, yeah, success for me with clients is just hoping that every single person who works with me, and I know it's a very idealistic and lofty goal, but I really do believe, that for me, success is if you've spoken to me, you're better off than before you had that conversation with me. I've done my job.
Fantastic. Well, thank you so much for coming online and inspiring us with these stories. I look forward to reading your book once it's out in January. I did have your website at the bottom of the screen. If anybody wants to go and pre-order this book, please do that before it comes out. And I wish you a lot of success. And hopefully once the book is out, we'll have you back on again so we can get more information about what's involved in this book.
Yeah, your questions have been really insightful and fun. And for those that do want to pre-order it early, if you go to the Simon & Schuster website and look up my name, it'll show you all the outlets that the book is available on. And the full name is Your Last First Date: Secrets from a Hollywood Matchmaker.
Fantastic. Thank you so much, Jaydi, and thank you to everybody who tuned in today. The Her Story Circle is not just a podcast. We are a social impact movement that brings you the stories and voices of women from all over the world. We share our stories to uplift you, to inspire you, to energize you, but most importantly, to take you from where you are now to where you're trying to go. So if you're like me and you're on a hunt for the one, the person who will complete you and spend the rest of your life with, you've got some resources here today that you can draw on. I'll be back again tomorrow, everybody, with yet another amazing guest. In the meantime, have a fantastic day, morning, or evening, wherever you are in the world. And Jaydi, thanks again for the interview. Bye for now. Thank you. Thank you for tuning into the Her Story Circle podcast. I hope today's story has inspired you to believe in the power of our stories and the difference you can make in the world when you use your voice. I'm Gertrude Mache, and it's been an honor to share this space with you, where voices from all walks of life come together to weave a rich tapestry of diverse perspectives. Don't forget to subscribe, rate, and review our podcast to help us share these stories with more listeners. Follow us on social media by looking for the Her Story Circle podcast for more updates. And join us tomorrow for another episode filled with courage, resilience, and empowerment. Remember, your story matters, and together we're building a stronger, more inclusive world. Until next time, keep making her story.